You go home after a long day and start scrolling, and you repeat this loop every single day. You feel overstimulated, and suddenly you cannot concentrate on doing the boring tasks anymore. And this is how scrolling on your phone is destroying your brain. But fortunately, if you watch this video till the very end, you'll know how to get out of this rat race, and you'll finally regain peace and focus. So first thing, this is very important because you need to find out what is actually overstimulating you. Most people think that the reason why they are so overstimulated, they cannot do anything, the reason why they cannot get anything done is only because of their addiction to their phone. But most of the times, the reason why you feel so overstimulated is coming from several small little things that you repeat every single day that slowly build up and compound that make you feel overstimulated as a consequence. It may be the fact that you're introverted, so you feel overstimulated naturally if you are surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of noise. So the solution may be the fact that you can avoid working on Starbucks, public spaces. You can choose to work at a library. Another small thing that you're doing that is making you overstimulated that no one talks about other than scrolling on your phone is the fact that you're multitasking too much. Okay, your brain is wired to do only one thing at a time. So every time you multitask and you're doing 2 to 3 things at the same time, you're leaking focus. You cannot be 100% focused on each of these tasks that you're doing at the same time, and it's going to frustrate your brain. Same with decision making. If you are overthinking too much, constantly making decisions all the time, another thing that makes you overstimulated is information overload. The fact that you're filling your brain with too much information, whether it be studying, reading, or problem solving non-stop. Also, this can overload your brain and make it more tired and frustrated, and as a consequence make you overstimulated. So the solution here is to stop overworking yourself. The reason why you're being overstimulated is that maybe you're forcing yourself to study when you're already tired, or your mind needs to relax. Also because you absorb information better when you are resting, when you are giving your mind space to process information, to process and memorize the things that you've just studied. Another thing that is causing you to become overstimulated on a daily basis is emotional intensity. For example, maybe you are surrounded by conflict, tense situations, maybe you have family conflicts, or just your environment is producing you constant stress and anxiety. All these strong emotions can also overstimulate you. Not to mention that too much interaction without a long time, lack of sleep, lack of breaks during the day, irregular routines, and too much caffeine can also lead to overstimulation. So once you relate and identify yourself with some of these things that I just said, or all of them, then it's time to just solve them, fix them, try to find better solutions in order to avoid them as much as possible. Especially if you have ADHD or autism, it can make these things, these emotions even more intense for you. All these things combined, like poor sleep, not enough alone time, stress, noise, all of a sudden they compound and make your day-to-day life impossible to navigate. All of a sudden everything feels too much. But again, we are here not just to solve all of these things, because the major factor that is making most people overstimulated all the time is scrolling on their phone. So no matter how many things you reduce, how much alone time you try to get on your day, how much stress you want to reduce, if you don't fix this core problem, which is scrolling on your phone, then you're going to still feel overstimulated. So here are 2 tips that are going to help you stop feeling overstimulated by scrolling. And trust me, I implemented them and they helped me so much. So first tip is face the discomfort. One thing that scrolling is doing to your mind is lowering your tolerance to discomfort. Because when you're scrolling, you're getting all this free dopamine in huge quantity, by the way, which is something that our brain is not used to. Literally, we are evolved by doing things for a huge, long amount of time in order to receive so little result, dopamine, and pleasure. And nowadays, you just need to grab your phone, click TikTok, YouTube Shorts, whatever it is, and immediately receive that huge boost of dopamine all at once. That's why it's overstimulating your brain. Your brain is not used to that, and it shouldn't be used to that, because if you normalize this behavior, which a lot of y'all, I think you've already normalized this behavior, that's when your tolerance for discomfort, willingness to commit to big goals is going to be harder than ever. You know why? Because your brain adapts to all of these things. I listened to this podcast from the Diary of a CEO about dopamine. So basically, he was interviewing this dopamine expert, where she basically said that there's this thing in our brain where when it receives dopamine, it feels good at first, and it works with any sort of thing that gives you dopamine. For example, smoking, drugs, playing video games. So we feel good at the moment, but then it adapts. And this process is called dopamine regulation. So now your baseline shifts, aka for your brain now feels normal to receive this huge amount of dopamine that you get from scrolling. And suddenly everything that gives you less than that gives you less dopamine, for example, reading, meditating, doing your homework, building a business, achieving a big goal, they feel so boring. Now, all of a sudden, normal things feel less rewarding. It feels like an achievement not grabbing your phone while you're watching a movie, while you're having a shower, while you're brushing your teeth. It feels an achievement every time you walk without your AirPods on your ears, without listening to songs or even podcasts. Because if you don't walk with your AirPods on and listening to something, it's going to feel like that walk is meaningless. You feel this emptiness inside of you, this void inside of you. It makes you feel, oh my god, how tough reality really is without all that dopamine. But I want you to understand that the same way you trained your brain to normalize huge boosts of dopamine levels, you can also switch it off and make it normalize again all these boring, mundane things that you need to do. Your brain is plastic. It adapts to whatever thing you repeat on a daily basis constantly. So what I started to do is to meditate for 3 minutes every single day. It sounds small, but trust me, I was just surprised for the fact that I couldn't even sit still without doing anything, without scrolling, without stimulating my mind, and just let myself sit in boredom for even 3 minutes. So just try this yourself every single morning for 1 week, and trust me, this is going to shift your brain. Maybe not in a huge way, but it's going to make the difference. And then over time, you can increase the amount of time that you meditate. For example, now I'm able to sit in silence for 20 minutes, even more, without feeling the urge of grabbing my phone, of getting up and dance or do something in order to keep my mind stimulated. I can tolerate the boredom more because it feels more normal to my brain. I repeated this for months now. And ever since I did that, something surprising happened. I started to realize that now, every time I go out walking, I don't want to listen to music anymore. All of a sudden, listening to podcasts while I'm brushing my teeth or taking a shower or even walking feels too much for my brain. It feels too overstimulating, because now my brain has normalized this amount of dopamine, because now finally I have adapted my brain from normalizing this amount of dopamine, constantly listening to songs, not meditating at all, to this amount of dopamine, to the point that now walking feels engaging and not too boring for me to wanting to listen to a song. Like, I was mind blown do this. That's how you can rewire your brain, by doing all these hard, boring things. The more you do them, the more you consciously and intentionally force yourself to do hard things and boring things all the time, at least once per day. You're going to rewire your brain, I promise you. You're going to get your brain back. So second tip that is really useful, that is going to make you even more accountable to your goal of normalizing less dopamine, which is tracking how much time you can focus on a specific task. Like, pick one specific task, whether it's doing homework or sitting in boredom, meditating, reading a book. Like, track the amount of time, pages you're able to read. Track the amount of time you are able to focus on doing that specific task before you start grabbing your phone and scrolling. You're going to notice that after reading 2 pages of book, you immediately want to grab that phone and start scrolling. Well, that is your data. Write it down. The fact that on day 1, I read 2 pages before feeling the urge of grabbing my phone. And do this every single day. And you're going to notice that the more you read 2 pages per day, the more your brain is going to normalize reading 2 pages per day, and it's going to inevitably read even more pages the next time. Obviously, this is going to be a slow process. You're not going to jump from reading 2 pages of book to 15 pages of book the next day like it's nothing. Like, no, it takes time. So just implement these 2 tips of doing hard and boring things every single day and track how much time you can focus on doing each of them. That's how you're going to rewire your brain to function at its natural pace. That's how you're going to regain peace and focus. And if you really want to get out of brain rot, stop frying your brain, then watch this next.